today. Let's start 2023 off right by being online a little late. This is ChillPoint. Yep.
There's no stopping it.
It's
Time
true.
trudges on 1 second per second, and you're here locked in with us.
All my Pikmin Bloom Pikmin have 2023 glasses now.
Yo! Wait, where do the eyes go?
The 2 kind of has like a spacing
Okay.
for it, as if they don't really fit them anyway.
Okay.
But rock Pikmin are my favorite, and they look the goofiest when they keep getting new cosmetics.
Sure. Yeah.
I like the idea that Pikmin both, have a conception of time that is the same as ours, and also have ascribed to the Gregorian calendar. That implies a much larger
Pikmin society. And also, manufacture little. I guess they don't. Maybe you're supplying them with the glasses. That's
Given the treasures you find on that planet, I feel like Pikmin are definitely on an apocalyptic Earth of some kind.
Oh, so these are
So they've always known that calendar exists.
So you think that these are the glasses might be glasses that are left over, if they're in the post-apocalyptic 30,000 year something, they found a cache of 2023 glasses
That are their size?
that are
Sure.
their size.
Well, I mean, we're making a lot of assumptions that it couldn't just be that everything on the Earth itself, just when humans disappeared, grew to gigantic proportions. And so Pikmin are actually human-sized.
I don't think so.
You don't think so?
No.
All right.
There's a lot of stuff to crunch there.
All
Unpick,
I know
yeah.
is I'm pretty sure Pikmin were better off surviving before Olimar or whoever the new ones in 3 come to the planet, because when we watch the credits for Pikmin 3,
Yes.
they look like they knew to run away from enemies. And
Yes.
yet, when we're there, they just go and drown in water.
Okay, that's fair. Yes. You can walk into a river.
So
and
they were basically fine before Olimar came along.
I honestly think Pikmin were a little smarter, and then they were like, oh, well, this dude seems to know what he's doing, so I'll just follow him and I'll dump all of my stuff. I don't need... They are...
Why bother following my instincts? This guy knows what he's doing.
Yeah.
Anyway, hey everybody, welcome to ChillPoint, show where we talk about the week's video game news, and today, in fact, the year's video game news, because we're gonna talk about some of the news that came out this last week, but then we're also going to maybe talk a little bit about 2022 and what we were playing and things that we're interested in terms of video games in 2022. We could have done that last week, but there were still 3 days left or 2 days left in 2023.
Yeah, you never know. We
2022.
might have actually finished a game in that time.
Yeah, something cool might have come out or done. Something might have happened.
Yeah.
It didn't, but it could have.
But we also did finish a game in that time.
Technically, we finished that game on the 1st.
Fair enough. All right.
I'm counting that as a 2023
All right.
finish.
Fair.
And once again, no checkpoint this week. We're still on vacation there. Probably should have checked and clarified whether we were going to do it next week before we went online, but we didn't.
If Thursday happens and you check the YouTube and there's an episode, then it definitely happened.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, if it happens next week, then it will have happened.
If you get to Friday and we're streaming this and it hasn't happened, then no.
It's like there's a continuum of whether we were doing checkpoint or not, and we were always doing checkpoint until we said we're going to take the next few weeks off, and then we just went hard to the other side of the spectrum, right?
The waveform,
Yeah.
the probability curve of whether a checkpoint is happening or not.
Yeah, and so then what happened is that as we have moved through said we're going to take a few weeks off, it's as we have moved along those weeks, the probability curve has increased and increased, but it's we might hit 99% possibility and then not do one, because that's XCOM, baby.
The chances of a checkpoint happening in a given week are steadily increasing.
Yes.
But
exactly.
do not despair.
But they never reach 100%.
For even though time has moved forward and there have been stories, if there are stories that were truly interesting to any of the people who are writing them, they will go back in time.
Oh yeah,
it's true.
Absolutely.
It's true. All right.
Horror stories.
Well, let's start talking about some stuff, and starting with one that I saw briefly brought up in the chat before we went online. Sony has shown off a new controller aimed at gamers with disabilities, which is great. If only 5 years after Xbox did it, but still.
And then said you could totally use this.
Yeah, and said feel free to use this. We'll make it available.
Yeah.
And Sony was like, no, we don't think so.
What a great idea! Here, we'll do it 5 years from now.
So anyway, it's called Project Leonardo.
Mm-hmm. There's
named after the Ninja Turtle, of course.
I believe so. Yeah.
There's no timeline for when this is out yet, or price point, or any of that.
No, this was this is part of CES is going on right now, the Consumer Electronics Show. So yeah, we
I mean, be excited.
Yeah.
They're announcing things, but yes.
And definitely good, but again, when there's no timeline for a thing, don't get too hyped.
Here's also, this is what it looks like.
It's Otto from Wall-E.
Oh, a little bit.
That's not a good connotation.
No. I'm guessing
I'm hoping I hope your controller can't, decide, be like, I don't want to control anymore.
Are the floating teeth, are they options, or are they back buttons, or are they ones you can swap out?
They are swap out
Pretty
options.
sure every button is something you can swap.
And most importantly, I think, or from what I understand, most importantly, is that it also has several expansion. They're actually just like headphone jacks. Is what is the standard system that?
It's all 3.5 millimeter. Yeah.
And so it's got a couple of expansion set plugs for buttons and switches and that kind of stuff. And in some ways, actually, the biggest thing about this is less the controller itself and more the fact that they made the controller.
Mm-hmm.
Also presupposes that they've actually been working a lot, and this is something that has already happened on just allowing straight up remapping of the regular controller, and just actually making controller remapping just a part of the system, which is something that is even if you aren't getting the special accessibility controller, is something that is excellent for accessibility regardless.
Can we throw that back up on the screen for a second?
Sorry.
Because there's a couple things that have bugged me, but one of them is that some of those teeth are molars and some of them are canines, and it's not clear to me why some of them are. Because I'm looking, I'm like, well, we have an arrow, which does not denote up; it's just an arrow. So we have two arrows that are canines on the left there. We have another arrow that's a molar, and I'm like, okay, that's whatever. We're covering some bits of whatever. We go to the other side, and the triangle and the square are canines, but the X and the circle, I'm assuming, yes, I can't quite see, are not. And
I think they're illustrating how different shapes are possible.
I guess
you can see the R2 button here
is raised and
is a different contour.
Yeah, and does that just mean that it's well, am I supposed to take that button out and then move it to another spot, and then therefore the canine is this will always be a canine shaped button, or am I supposed to take the little triangle off and say I move it over to here and that programs it as a different style of button? I don't really know what the. Yeah, I mean, it's interesting.
Yeah.
But you're saying this is also while this is something they're making, this is not something they've made. It
is not on the market currently.
It's not on the market. If it's being shown at CES, they might have a.
They've got. I wouldn't surprise if they have a prototype, but they haven't announced price.
And no one has taken pictures of a prototype yet.
My understanding is that it's been worked on the ground up with several people who have disabilities in order to make it as well.
Sure.
And with Able Gamers and a couple other organizations too.
Yeah, and I can understand all the buttons being different shapes and like being wedges versus being like, ramps or whatever. Like they curve off or they curve up or whatever. Because the idea is you'll be able to feel them out. Perhaps you'll be able to get a sense of what it is that you're touching. I get that. It's like you don't want to have something that's all uniform. I understand, but also it's like. It seems like there'd be more variation. You'd want more variation in that to be like, I want to know that this one is like...
Again, I don't know if that photo that we were looking at is like, this is a full concept thing, or if, like Paul's saying, it's just showing different options.
I'm saying that more for the chat's benefit of them saying that, look, Beach, they would do this. It's like, I get that they would change it up, and I get that it would be non-uniform because you want to be able to position it the way you need to so it makes sense. But yeah, it's just funny to me that like Microsoft... Didn't they just release theirs? They were just kind of like...
No, it's been out since before the pandemic, definitely.
Right. It was like Microsoft, but Microsoft didn't just come out and say, hey, so we're developing this thing and we'll be working on it for 2 or 3 years yet and you'll see something soon. They were just like, oh, by the way, here's this DJ rack that we made.
Stop slamming the table. We go through this every week.
Yeah. They did just drop it,
Yeah, they just said, here's this thing and we think it'd be great for this reason. And so we invite everybody in the games industry to adopt this as a standard, and we'll let you have it for free.
Which I don't think anybody has, which is a shame.
Yeah.
So what is your complaint exactly?
My complaint is that it's kind of like, I'm surprised that Microsoft just said, here's a thing, we're done, we've made it, and nobody jumped at using it, or at least trying to be like, let's try to develop and push this thing further. But Sony for being like, hey, we're making one too. We're 5 years late to the game. We're making one. Also, it's not done yet. Also, we want to hype it. Also, we want to do all these things. And it's kind of like, is there a reason why you couldn't just make it? Or maybe instead of just making it, just use the one that's already out there? And I mean, I understand the idea of like the more work and development you do on these kind of things and the more variance you provide, there's more, it widens the scope of who potentially could use something like that. Maybe this is a more appropriate controller for people who have a specific issue than other people who use a different controller.
For one thing, based on what I've seen of the adaptive controller that Microsoft made, it did a variety of things, and it let you plug in additional things, and it did a lot of things.
Yeah.
But people with disabilities aren't like one size fits all.
Yeah.
So having other types of disability controllers is potentially just good for more people in that vein. Also, I'm not sure that the adaptive controller continued to work on the next Xbox.
I mean, the whole idea is it's supposed to support a standard interface API, like, because that's the whole point of it. It was like, we want to open it to the industry so everybody can use this.
That's the Xbox one.
Yes, the adaptive controller. Yeah.
And that's what they said when it came out.
Yeah.
Sony hasn't said anything about that for their controller.
No.
It would be interesting if this controller worked on a Xbox, if it went the other way. But
my hope would be that it would. That it's like we're making these things and we realize the importance of trying to make everything play nice with each other, which might also lead to, well, it probably won't, but it could lead to the idea of like, I could use a DualSense on my Xbox, or I use it on my Switch, or use it wherever, right?
PlayStation won't even let you use a PlayStation 4 controller with PlayStation 5 games, even though the controllers are basically identical.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Unfortunately, it's like there's the interoperability in terms of like presumably buttons that you could plug into a Xbox adaptive controller.
Mm-hmm.
You could plug into this thing as well. So there's interoperability on that side of it.
Yeah.
But on the actual connection to the console part, nobody's on board with.
Yeah.
Which is a shame. Like having one controller that could operate on your Switch and your Xbox and your PlayStation and your computer would be fun.
Which basically means that the only gaming device out there that freely accepts the Xbox controller, the Sony DualSense, I believe the DualSense, at least the DualShock 4, and the Nintendo Switch Pro controller is iOS, is the only console out there.
Yeah, PC.
Does PC take them all freely?
Or
do you need drivers?
You need drivers.
Yes. No, with iOS, you can literally just pair them now. They all have it bundled in and set up, and it's like, wow, I did not think Apple would be the one that'd be like, every controller can hook up to us, but here we are. What a weird world we live in.
That just means iOS puts the drivers in for you beforehand.
Yeah, I
hardly think
they make it a turnkey operation.
That's like saying that, oh well, PC isn't.
Or that I guess iOS is interesting enough for the console manufacturers that they aren't sort of actively preventing it.
It's true. Because that was my expectation. Is I'm like, surely they'd be trying to find a way to stymie that kind of thing, but.
Speaking of,
oh goodness,
people stymieing,
here's a game I thought
stymieing things,
like maybe go away eventually.
Cyberpunk 2077.
All right.
Is a game that was known that from I haven't played, but from accounts is pretty good now, quite passable.
They've made it playable now.
Yes,
great.
It is. They've passed the point where every week there was a story about them profusely apologizing for it. And from what I understand, it is a cool game now. When they obviously they had a lot of not only bad PR when it happened, and we mentioned this I think at the time we talked about this when Cyberpunk 2077 first came out and was so bad. Mm-hmm. It was so bad to the extent that people who had bought the stockholders of CD Projekt Red actually sued them, being that like you said this would be a good game, basically. We bought your stock based on the idea that we thought this was going to.
For a year before the game came out, this is their argument. They advertised that the game would be playable on a bunch of things that it didn't end up being playable for, like the base PS4 specifically is a good example of that. And that when they sent out their review copies to get reviewed, they only sent out PC copies and basically kind of hid the fact that consoles were maybe not really going to work very well at launch.
And it's not just that like it was a bad game, or that it wasn't, it was all this buggy stuff. It was that, there were some internal documents that came out that seemed to indicate that they knew that it wouldn't work.
Right.
And they did it anyway. Mm-hmm. Right. So it's not even just that like they were misinformed or overly optimistic. They were actually legitimately fraudulent.
They were aware, and then people who invested on the idea of basically being lied to.
Did it launch as a console exclusive for Sony?
No. It was, okay. But it was maybe a console exclusive for Sony. Like it might have been PC and PlayStation.
Okay.
I don't know.
I
don't
remember. I do remember.
Someone in chat will correct me.
I do remember it being a thing of like.
But Sony actually pulled it from their store because it was performing so badly.
Yeah.
I mean, there was also that whole thing where CD Projekt Red just told them, "Hey, if it performs too badly and you don't like it, you can just get a refund from all of these stores." And none of those, they'd never.
And all those stores were like, "Sorry, what?
It seemed like they didn't, which I think is part of the reason why PlayStation pulled it.
Yeah, okay. There was a special yellow Xbox One.
Yeah.
So anyway, and this is actually we mentioned this before. This is there's a quite a great article or a thing I was reading a while ago now, but it was talking. It was like. It was basically all crime is
cybercrime.
Well, no, it's that like or like all fraud is financial fraud.
Oh yeah,
yeah. Basically, the idea being that when there's a company involved, especially a publicly traded company, regardless of what crime that they've done, they're accused of. Whether you're Blizzard and you have been accused of sexual harassment. There's a bunch of people being accused of sexual harassment and violating union policies and all this stuff, or whether you're CD Projekt Red and you bring out a game that people can prove that you have been doing fraud on whatever. Regardless of the thing, there's this. It's like you can be in trouble for the actual thing that you did.
Yes.
But then on top of that, there's this extra level of that technically speaking, it's also securities fraud because you didn't tell your that you
have a fiduciary duty to disclose the risks to the company.
You didn't
to your
disclose to your shareholders that you were doing something fraudulent.
Exactly. Yeah.
I mean,
So if you said to your shareholders, "We're going to sexually harass people,"
Yeah.
you would still be in trouble for doing that.
Yeah.
But at least you wouldn't be in trouble from a security standpoint.
Yeah. And as
if you're a public company,
Dunderhosen says you're a public company. I'm sure that if you're a private company, like if you're a privately held company that has shares split among several owners, there's probably the same issue comes up
but
there.
you never hear about it.
No. But other owners could take the one owner to court if it's like, hey, you're screwing the reputation of our company because of the way that you're acting.
Okay, but currently, this was a lawsuit that happened, and I believe they won.
Yes. So, this story that we're talking about is, so a federal judge in California's Central District signed off on a $1.85 million settlement between CD Projekt Red and a class action. So if you have acquired publicly traded CD Projekt Red securities throughout most of 2020, you are eligible for a settlement of roughly 49 cents per share.
Well, okay.
Whatever that ends up being. So it's a class action lawsuit.
Well, I mean, they're projecting potential 11 million. Just right there.
Yeah, well, they had previously, so 1.85 million is apparently what they settled. They were, a consultant for the plaintiffs had previously estimated the maximum potential damages was 11 million. So presumably 1.85 million is what they settled on.
Okay.
So anyway.
That's is an investment related thing. More about did you own shares during this time? Did you purchase shares during this time?
It's thinking specifically if you purchase shares.
Yeah.
So the idea being that like if you purchase shares based on this like upcoming game.
Yeah, then it's like you're entitled to financial compensation.
By the way, I got another email about. It's not relevant for me, but if you have bought a loot box. If you bought a loot box for Fortnite or Rocket League and you live in British Columbia, you are possibly entitled to up to $25 from a class action lawsuit.
How many of these do you keep getting?
I got one like a couple of weeks ago, and then I got another one like yesterday that was like, just so you know.
Don't forget.
You don't forget you should be on this. I'm assuming they just sent something to every Epic store. Like anyone who has an Epic account and lives in BC.
I'm like, you seem to be getting a lot of them, and how many?
My parents got an email because they
bought loot boxes.
No, they bought a MacBook Pro with a butterfly keyboard and that whole class action suit in the United States. They bought it in the U.S. as well. So it's like we're letting you know that you are entitled to part of this keyboard settlement if you had a top case replacement or had keycap replacements or anything. It's not. It's like $125 if you only had the one top case replacement. So it's like, that always works out that way, right? That it's like, you'll always get something that's like, oh, I thought I would get something that's quite big because of this. It's like, no,
class action. I mean, the whole point is that there's a bunch of people. So it gets split up.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of government?
Yes. Speaking of, I guess, government money, taxes.
Sure.
Because this is just a fun little thing. Bubba is you. Bubba is you. Bubba is me. Which is a super neat puzzle game for that came out a couple years ago. And the developer Hempuli.
I'm not going to attempt that.
Occasionally makes other games and puts them on itch.io. And just put out a game called Bubba files taxes.
Yeah, it's supposed
You're
to
right.
be
Right, what you know.
short little thing, but I hear it's kind of cute.
I played it actually.
Oh.
I downloaded it and played it.
Oh,
'Cause
how was it?
You can get it for free off the itch.io site, or you can donate money.
How is it as a video game, but how is it also as a tax filer?
It is very bad as a tax filer.
Okay.
I will say.
Understood.
Is
1 out of 10 tax filer.
I have a very important question. So if Baba files taxes, do they happen to be friends with the turnip boy who evades?
Oh, the tax evasion?
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, they don't. I
feel like that's a crossover.
Yeah, I feel like they
now.
should. Yeah. So basically, the premise of the game is Bubba has to file taxes, but doesn't know actually how to read. Which is a problem.
Right.
Needs to give taxes to me, as in the person me.
Right. Yeah.
And so you have to help Bubba file the taxes, and the tax form appears to be basically it's like this big long form that asks a lot of very nonsensical questions.
Okay.
But the important thing is each page of the form requires you to forge Bubba's signature. So you have to sign it.
Okay.
And so Bubba has a very particular signature. And so you have to freehand.
Oh, with the mouse.
With the mouse.
Wow.
And so, and that's the whole game. It's not, as you might guess by the fact that it's just a little thing that was given away for free on itch.io. It's not a super complicated, complex game. You finish it in about 5 minutes.
Okay.
My understanding is it's kind of like a game jam style game.
Yeah.
Neat.
And so the premise is you draw, you fill out this tax form, and then at the end, it says you give the taxes to this. You give them to me or whatever.
Yeah.
Who doesn't know what to do with them, but thanks you. And then you get a mark on, it shows you all the signatures that you did.
Okay.
And gives each one how close you were to Bubba's actual signature.
Oh, cool.
Oh, fun.
So it's just kind of a fun little thing. You can choose what color of ink to do the signature in.
You have to choose either blue or black, or they won't accept your taxes, right?
I did rainbow color ink.
Hey, good.
Ooh.
Maybe I got marked down for that. I don't know.
Don't write your report in red. The
Bubba
teacher
is
uses red to mark it with.
Hitman 3 isn't Hitman 3
anymore.
Nope. Now I think a couple of years ago, we actually did a ChillPoint story about how incredibly confusing the naming and system for the Hitman games is.
Isn't it just Hitman 1, Hitman 2, and Hitman 3?
No. Hitman 2, and Hitman 3 are remakes or are part of a reboot trilogy that came out relatively recently. There is also there's also a bunch of other Hitman games that came out way before those more recent ones.
Okay.
But also now, and I have actually played some of these more recent Hitman games, and I will agree with this. Within the Hitman game, these recent Hitman games, the UI, when you actually start the game, is terrible. It's impossible to, because Hitman. So when you buy Hitman 2, you get all the levels for Hitman 1 as well.
Okay.
Except you don't get I'm not going to. I'm probably going to get some of this wrong, but basically you get some of the levels from levels from Hitman 1, but not the DLC levels from Hitman 1.
Okay.
And then there's also, Hitman 3 came out and gave you some of the stuff. If you owned Hitman 2 already, it gave you the stuff from 2 and 1, but again, not DLC stuff.
Okay.
And then there also were DLC packs for Hitman 3, some of which were stuff from the previous games that had been redone. And then if you pre-ordered Hitman 3, you got access to all the Hitman 2 levels. If you had the console version, originally not if you had the PC version, but they fixed that apparently.
Okay.
Anyway, it got very confusing. And within the interface, when you go into the game of Hitman,
yes,
all of the levels from Hitman 1, 2, and 3, including all the DLC levels, are like there. But just a bunch of them don't work. Like, a bunch of them are like, you have to buy this.
Okay.
Which is a horrible way of doing
it.
So they decided no
weird.
more of that.
Okay.
So they're going to rename it Assassination Classroom, and it's going to be live service game.
Yeah, they're like, this is way too confusing.
It's not Assassination Classroom.
We're gonna rename it Hitman World of Assassination.
They should have called it Assassination Classroom.
And it will have everything from Hitman 1 from the Hitman 1 and 2 and 3. Still not some of the DLC though, I think, unless you bought the DLC separately. Because you have to buy, then if you want the DLC part, you have to get the Hitman World of Assassination Deluxe.
So we're still going to make this a little confusing.
It's still a little confusing. Also, right now, there's Hitman 2 and 3 are currently full price on the Xbox Marketplace. And a game called Hitman Trilogy, which again gets you all three, is available on Game Pass.
They're going to be
but all of those
eventually
will theoretically be condensed down and go away and be replaced by this. So basically, if you want to play the Hitman game, maybe don't buy it like right now. Wait for like a week or two because it might get sorted out at that point.
If you own it already, when they get rid of it, I believe they've said that you can still play them. Like, it's not like they're going to take your copies away.
Yeah.
But they're doing this thing.
Okay, so I agree that maybe the easiest thing to do, it's like, I want to play the new Hitman games, the reboot trilogy. I want to play those. So yeah, maybe the thing to do is to wait until everything gets shaken out to the point where it's like, now I can tell. It's the what's the new PlayStation Plus going to be known as? It's that kind of idea of, boy, this is very confusing if you're not familiar with it. But if you are like deep into it, you're probably like, oh, this all makes perfect sense. But yeah, what did they fix by doing this? It's just what I'm like. They did this to just disambiguate anything, but I don't feel like it's been disambiguated.
We're just going to put it all in one game, and we're going to make that game a live service game now.
Is it really supposed to be a live service game?
And Hitman was sort of not really a live service game, but it did have they would. I don't know if they're still doing it, but they would sort of periodically come out with
daily missions
with new missions. It wasn't daily,
okay.
But every little while they did. For instance, they did like the 7 Deadly Sins missions, which were like they came out every couple of months.
Okay,
or like I think it was actually every month for seven months type of stuff. Unfortunately, the Pride one came out during Pride Month, which maybe seemed like a good idea, but also you like. Kill the guy.
Yeah.
It probably wasn't the best. I don't know if that was what they wanted. But anyway. Actually, wait, someone in the comments has what they think is the rundown here.
Okay.
Let me just quickly try this again, okay?
Great.
Hitman 1 Game of the Year Edition.
Oh no.
Contains all of Hitman, which is Hitman 2016, which is the like reboot of the Hitman reboot.
We're starting there. Okay.
All right.
That will become free as a free part of this Hitman World of Assassination.
Okay.
Hitman 2 Standard Edition, which was the base game of Hitman 2.
Yes.
Well, also all that stuff will become free as part of this Hitman World of Assassination.
Okay.
Hitman 2 Expansion is an expansion with 2 extra levels to Hitman 2, which does not appear to be in this, will not be in this unless you get the deluxe edition.
Okay.
7 Deadly Sins is an expansion for Hitman 3, and which will not be in there.
Okay.
And the deluxe pack for Hitman 3, which contains escalation contracts and items, will not be in there unless you get. And if you get if you get the deluxe edition of the Assassination World, you will get the 3 base games and the deluxe pack. But apparently not the Hitman 2 expansion. And this did not help. I apologize.
But can you buy it? I guess is the question.
Presumably you'll be able to buy them.
Yeah. Like, because it's the thing. Like, to me, I'm like, I buy Super Mario Brothers, then I buy Super Mario Brothers 2.
Which one?
And then, just Super Mario Brothers 2. I'm not
Super Mario Brothers Game of the Year
2,
edition or
Game
the
of the Year
edition
of Super Mario Brothers 2. And
then
I buy Super Mario Brothers 3, and all 3 of them are their own game, right? Like, I buy Pikmin, I buy Pikmin 2, I buy Pikmin 3.
This isn't like a thing that's like endemic to PC stuff.
No.
This is just the hit and the Hitman games before this were totally normal. There was like Hitman Absolution, Hitman Blood Money, like they did a bunch of games.
And they're all their own game.
Yeah, this is just something that they've been trying to do. They're like, it's like this weird combination of trying to do like episodic content.
Yes.
But anyway.
I can't wait to get it.
It just feels like Super Mario Brothers 2 is Super Mario Brothers 2. Anyway,
and it's like one of the weird things with Hitman is how the game is structured is that there's however many actual like levels or worlds.
Yeah.
That are like, you know, a particular scenario or that are a particular situation.
Yeah.
You know, like the villa. And then there'll be like 10 different things to do, like different killer things you have to do there. And then they'll add new ones as part of expansion. So they won't add a new level, but they'll add new content.
And so the fact that it's like
so it gets confused as to what's new and what's not. Anyway,
I've stopped listening.
Yeah.
And now I'm just going to go along with chat as we make up this crossover about Pikmin and Hitman 3. I assume that the Pikmin get to be the Hitman in this game.
Hitman.
Right?
Well, it's specific. There's like the black colored Pikmin, or like the like Pikmin Pikmin that have like little suits on with red ties.
Very tiny, and you need a lot of them to get that hit done, but they'll do it.
Little tiny suits with red ties. And then they will just like, you just point them at one of the enemies, and at some point in the future that enemy dies.
And everyone's
in
just
suspicious
like, we don't know
circumstances.
how this guy died. He has like a bunch of leaf marks on him, like he got tapped to death.
There's like this.
The great thing about Hitman is that like a lot of the time when you kill somebody, you can do stuff where like you kill them and it like has to look like an accident. So, which I always loved the idea, which is like you pay this guy, you know, however many, you know, hundreds of thousands of dollars to kill your rival, and then like 2 weeks later, your rival like has an unfortunate accident, and you're like, was that an accident? What?
Yeah. Did it actually?
Did I just waste a bunch of money?
Yeah.
Or did? You'll never know.
No.
Maybe he just takes the money and then waits for a while and hopes the guy dies.
It's like, don't worry, we're gonna make sure that, but it's gotta be separated from it anyway. It feels to me like what's happening is that it's like we've made a whole bunch of missions for a whole bunch of different editions of Hitman.
Yeah.
Pikmin. I mean, a whole bunch of
That's
different.
what they could call it.
Yeah.
HIGW, like MIN.
Hitman. We made a whole bunch of different missions for what essentially we released as 1 and 2
Olimar
and
is
3.
like the person on the like radio that gives you your missions.
and I'm like, it kind of seems like they're like, yeah, we always just wanted to make a Hitman game and just kind of keep throwing more and more content at it.
But for marketing reasons, they have to
bundle it into pieces and call it 1, 2, and 3. And it's like, boy, that does kind of suck, because now that you're calling it just Hitman, World of Assassination, and it's like everything goes under that.
Of wonder, a world of assassination.
Yeah, it's
scans super well, doesn't it?
Yeah,
it's very, even doing the whole like Willy Wonka thing. It doesn't scan well either. Assassination doesn't fit very well into songs, I don't think, but. But it's like, it's just weird to think we've made this umbrella thing now that now we can just release stuff for whenever we feel like it, and it's part of, and you're going to have to pay for each thing, but that's fine because that's how it works. That episodic feel. And I'm like, that seems to make way more sense when you approach it from that idea. But the fact that they had to take whatever they've already made and be like, well, we have to rename this, and then we get some of this, but not all of this, but then some of this will be free, and some of it won't. It's like, boy, that is needlessly complicated. Rather than just saying, if you had Hitman 3, we're going to give you World of Assassination, and then a bunch of other stuff will be available too. That seems like the simplest way to talk about it, but
anyway.
I just want an Assassination Classroom game.
The one for 3DS.
Yeah, it's not out here, and I don't read Japanese.
That's fair.
Well, you know what's... we talked that Mario would be simpler. And
Will it, Paul? Will it be?
How about some Sweet Mario Lego?
Hey,
tell me when they get Zelda.
But this is
wait a minute.
This is different than the there's been a couple of big things of the Mario set where that's like got all sorts of fancy digital things in it and stuff.
Yeah, like the codes and stuff that it beeps
or the NES monitor and all that kind of weird thing.
Yeah, I mean these are kind of more part of the Mario's got makes coin noises and play sets and whatnot. Mm-hmm. The giant Bowser and the TV set and stuff is aimed at an older demographic.
Right.
Who have lots of money. More money than the children.
Whereas these are a little bit more
it's a good Goomba.
What? Sorry.
It's no Goombella.
Yeah. So these are a little bit more traditional. They're a little cheaper, although they're not ridiculously cheap.
But these are not a play set as much as these are they're
like little packs.
Yeah,
some of them are expansion sets, so they have like the balloon and a little bit more to it that you add on to a bigger set. Mm-hmm. And then some of them are like the little figurine kind of loot bags you get.
Boy, I love everybody giving me such shit about the Mega Construct stuff I buy every year, being like, oh, look at all those non-standard parts. Real Lego wouldn't be like that. Real Lego wouldn't have all these things. This is real Lego, is it not?
I'm pretty sure it's not you that people are giving shit to. It's mega blocks.
And I'm just like, no, everybody does non-standard parts in their building sets these days.
I will say, is this? I know. Where's the?
Don't hold your breath.
You can't really see. I will say the thing I'm most disappointed in is they've got Birdo. There's a good picture, but you see they've got Birdo over here.
Yeah, kind of.
And she doesn't have she should have the pirate cannon nose, so she can you could have the little white, little 1 by.
Should be able to just let her shoot that out of her mouth.
That would look perfect.
That would look great. Holy crap!
Little white cylinders that she could fire, and she could fire them out. That would be awesome.
God, that's so good.
I was highly disappointed in that, but otherwise, it seems kind of cool. What's not cool is if you are EA in general, but also if you are somebody who plays Madden.
Right.
I hope anybody.
You're about to get Madden.
I don't know if anybody watching is a big Madden player, but so on December 26th, the day after Christmas,
you've already been Madden.
Yeah, as your as a wonderful Christmas present from EA. EA tweeted that we are aware of players experiencing connection issues. And that problem lasted until Wednesday. And then they announced they were doing server maintenance, and now users should be able to play without any issues.
So
They
if you
were wrong.
you were hoping to play Madden over Christmas because you're like, I finally got a week off. I can just sit down and just really crunch some Madden. Now that it's the football season and I'm really feeling it.
It gets worse though.
Yeah, I bet.
So-
They told people it was safe.
So it's fixed now.
Yeah.
They were wrong.
Users who attempted to log in to play the online franchise during a 22-hour period from Wednesday afternoon to Thursday morning saw their franchise save data corrupted by the aforementioned data storage issue.
They told them it was safe to play now.
Oh my god.
And EA says some of those save files can be recovered from a backup.
40% maybe.
But the development team is currently projecting around 40% of the leagues can be recovered.
Wow.
Yeah.
If you didn't log in,
you're probably fine.
you're probably unaffected.
And that's not, I mean.
And it is now safe to log in and play.
Do you believe that? I don't know if I would.
That's not even,
Which is like as this I like this article says, it is now up and running and safe to log in and play, which is similar to the message that they offered on Wednesday afternoon before
Yeah.
Before everybody got their save data corrupted.
This
logging
time
in
for
and playing.
sure. Presto.
I really would like to play this game during my holiday break. Okay, well, I can finally play this game now. It's been a while. I'm going to sit down and play it.
You know what's weird about this too is it's like not every Madden player will play franchise games. They won't play like I'm gonna play the franchise. I'm gonna just do that. A lot of Madden players are literally just like I'm just gonna come in and I'm just gonna play a season or I'm just gonna do whatever. I'm just gonna pick up teams that are already there or whatever and kind of do that kind of stuff or play it at my frat house with my bros or whatever. But that means that what you said, 40% of the franchise data is recoverable, meaning 60% is unrecoverable, which means that for a small subset of people that play Madden, like people who are playing it more, who are not playing it casually, let's say, so people who are really into playing Madden, 60% of those people have had, and that would be 60% of the people who logged in have had their stuff corrupted. Like it's a subset of a subset of a subset, and yet those people are the ones who are the most active Madden players.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. Because if you're saying that if you're saying that this is a hardcore set of people who like really play a lot of Madden,
out of 10 million copies sold, it's
that
like
means
this is
they had an extended period of time where they couldn't play Madden.
Yeah.
And when they were told they could log in and play, probably logged in and played.
Yeah, and there is a more than there's a more than 50-50 chance, obviously, that they lost all their data.
And I mean, I've definitely decided to stop playing a video game when a save file gets wiped or like a thing happens. I can very like if I had a lot invested in that game, and that happened and all of my stuff was gone, I'd probably stop playing.
Here's my thought. People are saying, why don't they have proper backups? Like they only have some backups, that kind of thing. Here's my thought about how this works is that anytime you store data, if you have the 3-2-1 method is the one people say that you should use. You have 3 copies of data, 2 that are local and 1 that's offsite. Now, they probably don't do that with this. What they probably do is they have the 2-1 method, essentially. We have 2 copies of data. One is on your Xbox, and then one is at EA. And they sync them, I'm sure is how it works.
Well, I mean,
I'm making a
presumably
guess.
This is right. This is a side effect of this happening. Like there was some sort of server issue.
Yeah.
That was happening before this, so then that sort of led to things being corrupted. So,
chances
presumably,
are good.
under normal circumstances, they would have the backups. But whatever happened to the server that made it so people couldn't connect also messed up their backups.
Right, but it's I'm thinking it's like I bet you that locally on your system you have a copy of your franchise, and then EA has one remotely. And then you have to connect to them to be like, let's ensure that we have the right versions of whatever it is we're going to be playing. And somewhere along the way, it's like, this version is newer than the other version, so let's just update that one with this. That's a guess, obviously. But I can see that where it's like, I have a good version on my Xbox. We have a corrupted version on our server, but it was updated sooner, so it will overwrite the one that's on your Xbox.
I mean, maybe.
Maybe.
It's definitely, it's going to be a thing of stuff got pushed, people logged in, it probably overwrote a save that got corrupted,
Yeah.
and then now it's gone.
Yeah.
And I like the take from on Deadspin, which is a sports specific blog. You know, I think it's part of the Kotaku. I don't know if it's part of the Kotaku network, but or the whatever. Anyway, it's a sports specific blog.
Oh, Deadspin. Yeah.
Mentioning this. So this is somebody who is actually, playing. They're talking about this article is about how Madden sucks now. And then on top of that, it's like
then this happened.
Yeah. For some unknown reason, people were having trouble connected to logging into the connected franchise mode, which is the only mode that some people, including myself, play nowadays on Madden.
Mm-hmm.
It's a way to conduct seasons with friends and play against each other in a quote-unquote realistic setting.
Mm.
If I can't play connected franchise mode, I'm not playing their terrible game.
Wow. All right.
I mean, that's
anyway.
true of a lot of games. There's like one mode that's like really popular.
It's the one you want to play.
Or
Yeah.
it's the reason you play the game.
Yeah. If I can't play Battle Royale, I'm not playing Fortnite.
I'm just not playing Fortnite.
Yeah, but it's
yeah,
that kind of idea of like the whole reason to do this is because of this one thing. That's what draws me into playing this game. Even I don't like anything else about the game, and that complicates things obviously. So again, I'm just making I'm just making some suppositions about how any of this might have gone down, because I'm sure EA is never going to come out and give us a postmortem on here's how we fucked this up.
In other football news,
Great.
This was a little bit
Except-
more fun.
yeah, and more fun football news, but other football,
It's also still for FIFA, so
European football.
European football.
You're
FIFA 23. Now, you may be aware that Ryan Reynolds and another guy.
Paul McElhenney. Wait, Rob McElhenney. Why did I say
Yeah.
Paul?
his Paul's right here.
Yeah, Paul.
A little while ago, purchased a
Football club.
A football club. There's a
In Wales, it's called Wrexham, and there's a whole thing on Apple TV, I think it
there's
is.
Apple TV
Road to
or
Wrexham?
somewhere.
Yeah.
Talking about it. Anyway, the people have noticed some Easter eggs in FIFA 23. If you're playing Wrexham versus a few other, I think I can actually do this here. I'll turn on the sound here. So
Okay.
hopefully you can hear this.
So if you're in FIFA 23 and you are playing as Wrexham or playing versus Wrexham,
I think either way.
okay.
As long if Wrexham versus this, so this is Wrexham versus Liverpool.
Okay.
And I think there's a couple others. This is just the intro when you start the game.
Hello, it's great to be with you, and I don't think anybody is going to complain, especially about the weather. My name is Derek Ray, and my commentary partner on this occasion is Stuart Robson, and we can't wait for this one to start with justifiable cause. It's Wrexham taking on Liverpool.
Well, Derek, as is always the case, the team that dominates midfield will be the team that controls the flow of the game, and that, for me, is the area that's key today.
This is,
Well, it is a
announcer
huge
banter
day for
they have at the
Wrexham as
beginning
they
of
take
matches.
on the might of Liverpool here. And I believe we have a message from the owners, Ryan and Rob.
Well, this is a special game. This is a big club versus a very small club.
Giant club
Massive.
versus just a minuscule improvisational version of a football club.
Of course, we're talking about Liverpool.
Tiny club, Liverpool.
Tiny club, tiny town.
Tight-knit community over there at Liverpool, really keeping this community-owned club together.
Very close to the massive Wrexham AFC.
Thank you, Ryan. Thank you, Rob. Sit back and
Oh
enjoy
my
it
God.
now.
Yeah, so apparently there's like a couple of Easter eggs people have started to find in regards to.
That's
Which is-
fantastic.
I think all of them are of a similar
Yeah.
tone of them kind of bad mouthing whatever football club they're up against.
The whole point of this, by the way, is that Rob wanted to buy a pro sports team somewhere, and then he thought about maybe I should buy a football club is what I should do. And then for whatever reason, he told Ryan Reynolds about it, and Ryan was like, called him one day like, dude, I found one. We should buy this one. And they have never worked together before as a thing. And they're like, we should do this because you want to do that. And I don't mind investing my money in a whole bunch of stuff because he does. And there's a great interview on Colbert where the two of them talk about why they did it and the whole like motivation for it. And also the fact that they're like, but we're not running this as a gag. Like, we're actually trying to make this team work. And so, but because Ryan's so into digital marketing that he's like, and so we're doing everything we can to get this team to work.
Yeah, but it's a very low-ranking team, right? Is my understanding?
Yeah, they've been relegated,
From what I understand, Wrexham and Liverpool aren't even in the same league.
No.
Like, literally,
yeah,
they're in a different... Like, normally a team like Wrexham wouldn't even be in the FIFA games because they're
They're like even a step below the Champions League, I think.
Yeah. So anyway,
and I only know anything about soccer thanks to Ted Lasso.
Yeah,
so.
Yes.
Me too.
Ted Lasso.
But you know what?
Yeah.
Because of Ted Lasso, I do prefer the football of
European variety,
and American football can just go take a hike. I don't care about sports.
It's fair,
but I care about football a little bit now.
Yeah.
Well, here's something that we do care about. The ZeniMax Studios, which ZeniMax is just owned by Microsoft.
Yes.
The quality assurance workers at ZeniMax Studios have voted with a super majority to join the Workers United Communication Workers of America Union. And Microsoft has said, yes, let's do that. So Microsoft has opted to recognize that union.
Yeah,
that's super good.
I believe Microsoft previously said that they would recognize a union should one happen, and now they've followed through and done the thing that they said that they would do.
Yeah.
Which is, which is sort of an interesting, like a lot of tech companies, even the companies where unions have popped up have said, have been like, we're not, that's cool, but we're not actually recognizing it as a union, recognizing it until we get the arbitration or whatever.
Yeah.
Whereas
we're forced to.
Yeah. Whereas Microsoft has said, yep, it's cool.
Yeah. Anything you want to do, we will not interfere.
If this is, the cynical, I guess, version of this is Microsoft is being on their best behavior right now because they're with they've got this whole thing with the acquisition, and so they're trying to look that they're really nice to their
very conciliatory,
yeah. And whether that's true or not, this is an excellent it's very savvy move by these folks to take advantage of that.
Do it now.
They know that Microsoft is in a position where they don't want to look like they're throwing their weight around.
Yeah.
And also it's the largest video game union so far.
Roughly 300. And what's interesting is that I think all of the video game unions so far have been QA workers.
Yes.
QA testers. So that area in particular,
QA testers do get shit on a lot.
And they also tend to be like sort of contract people, so they get dumped at the end of every game or whatever.
And there are other positions within gaming that are also shit on, but like QA is very much shit on a lot.
And they're a block of people that all have very similar interests, so it works really well for getting together. So, so yay on that.
You can be. Maybe Microsoft is doing it for the cynical reasons. That might be true, but if you want to take down a huge mountain, just
single step,
taking out its pebbles.
You're
gonna get there.
Microsoft has 22,000 employees.
I don't know.
Oh, I have no idea.
Something like that. A ridiculous amount of people work for them, and still like the chunk of that then work for ZeniMax with all the other studios and everything involved. And it's like, sure. So that as you start making the breakdown there to say, here's how many people work in all these different areas of the company, you get down to like 300 people of just the QA people working for the studio, and they have formed a union. and it's like it's that first little crack in the rock, right? That's kind of like you put your piton in, you put your rope around it, and you're like, all right, let's go to the next one, and how high can we climb this mountain? Can we get to a point where 20,000 people join this union, 100,000 people join this union? And I think that this has to be taken as what good news for the rest of the industry, because that QA people in all other major companies now are really looking at this and being like, it doesn't just have to be Raven Software's 25, 30 people, however many people are in that. It doesn't just have to be little pockets here and there among different industries. It can be, hey, 300 people showed up and said we want to do this, and then maybe that grows to 1,000 people.
It does, because there's like that whole, for one thing, if unions are, if we consider them positive and they're able to fight and get the things that they want for people who are in the union, and then the people who are outside the union who can't get the things that they want, but you can see that being at a union would do that, you might be more incentivized to work that way.
When it's not just sort of a theoretical thing, when there actually is concrete,
and sometimes you need to see other people take like first steps to drive the confidence of others.
Yeah, that's very true. Yeah.
Also, the other story that we talked about this week, I bet CD Projekt Red knows the value of QA. At least $1.85 million.
Yeah, absolutely, right?
Probably more than that. But maybe if they had spent a little bit more on QA, they would have... So they wouldn't have spent so much on the law. They needed
more time.
Well, yeah.
Like the suspected thing was that
QA,
they had contracts that they had to make, and instead of trying to negotiate those off.
I'm assuming QA said it's not ready, and they were like...
I'm assuming the devs were like, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
But yeah.
Actually, this ties in with just to quickly mention, because we talked about it a bunch last week, and I want to go into again. But FTC or Microsoft has taken back the unconstitutional part of their complaint against the FTC.
Withdrawn that specific argument.
They have withdrawn that. We talked about how how often with these kind of things, they throw everything at the wall and see what sticks.
Mm-hmm.
The constitutional part did not stick.
No,
it did not stick, and it really was to their disadvantage from the sounds of it.
Yeah, because people are like,
are you fucking kidding me?
Also, if you win that literally makes it so like regulatory agencies can't operate. So that's probably not going to happen.
No.
So anyway,
it depends on who's at the other end of that agency, who's kind of like, I've been looking to take this one and the rest of them down for years. So yes, I approve. And it's like, oh, that's going to tie up a lot of shit in court for the next 20 years. Ooh.
And then finally, the one thing more to talk about, and then like I said, we'll spend a little bit of time talking about what's coming, or what we did in 2022. But so this story started out as that Wizards of the Coast has canceled a bunch of their video game projects. Mm-hmm. They announced that they were canceling 5 video game projects. Now, they've said they said fewer than 15 people at Wizards of the Coast are actually being laid off.
Okay.
Presumably because most of these video game projects were third-party companies working on things. So you can say
we're probably only laying off like 15 people within our own company, but chances were good most of that game stuff was being done by other companies, and who knows what this effect has on them.
Right.
So we've played most of them on streams.
I think we played 2, and one of them definitely
WotC's non-Magic, like Magic Arena, has been pretty successful.
Mm-hmm.
There's various complaints about it, but in general, it's been pretty successful. But yeah, there was
it's like a MMO one.
The new Dark Alliance we played, and that was kind of Medium.
That was like in beta, and then it got canceled before even full release or something.
Yeah, and then there was an MMO. Then again was sort of still in like early access, and they didn't even bother releasing it.
Yeah.
There was a thing that sort of was like what's it called, magic something or other, that was actually like trying to do sort of a magic like real time.
Was that Magic Legends?
Magic Legends, I think. Yeah, where you had like mana and cards and things, but you were sort of using them to attack in real time. It was kind of weird, and it was sort of an interesting idea, but they didn't do anything with it.
Yeah, and those were some of the first games that they had put out, because they'd made like a big announcement about how they were going to do like 12 games or something.
Yeah, they did. So this is. We have made some changes to our long-term portfolio to focus on games that are strategically aligned with developing our existing brands and those which show promise in expanding or engaging our audience in new ways, which is the like long PR version of some of these games were not doing well.
We greenlit a bunch of stuff. Now that we've looked at them, we changed our minds.
And this is not, to be clear, because people know our relationship with Wizards of the Coast, this is not us having some sort of interesting insider information. We are making a lot of speculation at this table about why they did things.
Oh, we know nothing about this area.
Yeah, nobody tells us any of this stuff, so yeah.
And if we did know, we wouldn't tell you.
Yeah. So the weird part about this, the wrinkle in this story, which happened, I think today, or it's been happening over the last day or two. So two of the studios that have been called out as having
this canceled.
Yeah. Other Side Entertainment and Hidden Path Entertainment were both working on Wizards of the Coast games.
Okay.
Hidden Path previously made the was it a tower defense game? Anyway, so the problem is Hidden Path insists that they have their game has not been canceled.
They made a tweet directly in that regard.
Yes. Jason Schreier and Bloomberg have said that the game is canceled. He, according to a spokesperson from Wizards of the Coast and sources within the company.
Okay.
Jason Schreier says that the game is canceled. Has reported.
Jason has reported that this has happened.
Bloomberg
has published it.
Okay. And then Hidden Path says, no, we are still making this game. Here's here's our hiring page. Do you want to come work for us to make this game?
Okay.
And then Jason Schreier went back and was like, I double checked with my contacts at WotC, and yes, it has been canceled. And Hidden Path goes, no, it hasn't been canceled.
Huh.
Yeah, so that's...
And that's where we are right now. So either nobody told Hidden Path that it's canceled, or Hidden Path is trying to be like, no, the game's going to keep going. We're just not going to do it with the WotC license or something weird like that, but they're not phrasing it well.
Right.
It seems more like there's a communication error of we haven't been told yet.
Or there are two different people within Wizards who are communicating this out, and they are currently at loggerheads about, we're canceling this thing. No, we're not canceling this thing. Yes, we are canceling this thing. It's like, it could be all internal.
Even if it's internal, I don't think you tell somebody that a thing is definitely canceled if you're still fighting it out.
Absolutely not. You wouldn't do that. It'd be a terrible thing to do. So, yeah.
So, if this is how Hidden Path is learning that their license with WotC has been canceled, that is very bad.
Yeah.
We'll find out probably, I'd say, by next week, because...
So, presumably, at some point, there will be an official word from WotC. So this is all, Bloomberg, Jason Schreier reporting for Bloomberg, based on contacts within WotC. But, Wizards of the Coast hasn't actually put out a public statement saying these companies are no longer working with us.
And that may be
they have said that they are
yeah.
canceling, that they cancel a bunch of games, but they haven't clarified which games are still going, because a bunch of the games are not announced.
Right, yeah.
So they can't. So it's very odd. Baldur's Gate 3 is still in production.
Right.
So that one they have said is still happening. So that's good.
I would I make the assumption that, so my bet is Hidden Path is basically saying until anything is said publicly that we are still continuing to make this game and we're still hiring for it. And maybe they're right now saying to themselves, what can we salvage from this since we're already working on it? Maybe it is we drop all the magic whatever or D&D whatever or whatever.
This is a D&D related game.
So we drop all the D&D whatever out of it and we Dragon Age our way through this thing. Maybe that's what
I don't think you publicly state that your game hasn't been canceled.
Yeah.
If that's like what you're going to do though, just cuz that's really a confusing weird way to do things.
Because the thing you would say is that we're going to pivot once it's been announced officially from Wizards. They say we are canceling this game or whatever, then you say we are pivoting this development to this.
If Wizards has never stated that they're making a game with Hidden Path officially, they might not publicly announce that that's a game that
that's
they're
a good
canceling.
point. Yeah.
But I could buy that maybe Hidden Path hasn't gotten the notice.
Yes.
And they were supposed to like later.
Yeah.
I believe the fact that Hidden Path was at least making a D&D project with Wizard of the Coast was a public information. But yeah, anyway, this is one of those I think the last thing I saw about this was today, this afternoon or this morning, and there wasn't any new information. So
Yeah.
presumably there are a lot of very frenzied phone calls happening.
Oh, definitely.
To figure out what the heck is going on.
Yeah.
Jason Schreier is, as far as I know, not in the habit of randomly saying things
He's
like
pretty
this.
rigorous, yeah.
The tweet he responded with, it says, "This is a very unusual and very unfortunate situation, but we stand by our reporting. Both a source and a Wizards of the Coast spokesperson told Bloomberg on Tuesday that Hidden Path D&D game is canceled." So, anyway.
But I mean, someone's about to get some very bad news.
Yeah. Somebody is uninformed or misinformed. Either Hidden Path or Jason Schreier or his contacts or something.
Yeah.
Anyway. Weird times.
I assume that is something that we'll maybe hear about by next week. Like confirmation on that.
So let's talk about 2022. And not necessarily what news and stuff, but more video games in particular we're talking about here. What games we played in 2022, and that not necessarily games that came out in 2022, of course.
No.
We're all fairly. I think we're all fairly
full on our backlogs.
Yeah, backlog heavy people. So things tend to you tend to be like, oh man, this was the greatest game of 2022, and people are like, that came out 5 years ago.
Yeah, but it was the best one I played, and therefore game of 2022.
So yeah, Heather, you wanna start us off here?
Sure. Let's start with Kirby and the Forgotten Land, because I know
I think
three
we
of
all
us have
played it. Yeah.
that game.
Ironically, I had forgotten that I had played it, and then I remembered.
It's such a good game.
It is.
It's so cute. It's got
truck.
Just
I
I was reading through a forum because people were like, "Oh, what's the best moment of a video game that you've played this year?" And someone wrote Kirby and the Forgotten Land, and all they wrote was truck in all caps, and I was like, yeah.
And I love it when you can do that.
Small spoilers for Kirby, but
there's a truck.
It doesn't matter. Yeah.
But I love when you can do that, when you're like, I can tell you, I can say a thing about a game, and you'll hear it in with one word, and you'll all have the same reaction to it. And I'm like, that's that again. It's spoiler free, right?
That Kirby mouthful mode emote is actually pretty awesome.
Yeah.
I don't know where that came from, but that's awesome, Rob Raccoon. Anyway, so Kirby Forgotten Land. I haven't I played Kirby's Epic Yarn,
also very good,
which is also very good, but it's not. This is quite a different kind of Kirby game.
Yep.
But yeah, I really enjoyed it. I'm a sucker for platforming games, and Kirby games are
Kirby's very cute, but it's also like the gimmick they went with this time was mouthful mode, which was really interesting in a lot of ways because it was like the car was big in the marketing, right?
Right.
And it's like running around with the car and watching his little feet kind of at the end just do whatever's really funny, but then you get like to the vending machine and you're just kind of like, yeah, all right, and then suddenly you're on like a roller coaster rocket and you're like, okay.
There's so much of
sure.
There's so much of like when you start that game, the set pieces are very it's very environmental. It's meant to feel like you're playing in an area that could exist.
Right.
And then as the game goes on, it becomes clear that you're playing in some areas that are specifically made to act as video game levels, and that's always because you guys brought up Lost in Random, and all that does is remind me of Lost in Shadow. And my biggest complaint about Lost in Shadow is that they made the beginning of the game and the end of the game, and they put the most effort into both of those things, and then everything in the middle, it really felt like they just kind of went, okay, and then a bunch of shit happens, and it was like very disappointing because you could tell that the middle of the game environments were very different, and I'm like, Kirby has a little of that where it's like the beginning of the game feels like he wakes up on a beach and he walks around this and then he drives into the cities and like moves around, and I'm like, yeah, and those feel very like fresh and interesting, and they feel like everything's kind of involved and not so video gamey, and then as the levels start moving further and further forward, it starts to feel like they are video game levels because they have to feel like that.
Yeah, a little bit. But then you still have like set pieces like the malls and
the
stuff
bridge
that feel really good. The bridge level is really interesting.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's such a, and the setting is such an odd, it's like this, this sort of post-apocalyptic wilderness.
Yeah.
And then there's and it's like populated, there'll be in another game, like there's the first time you encounter the wolf guys.
Yeah.
And so it's like another game, it would be like, if you're playing like The Last of Us or whatever, and you're in an abandoned shopping mall that's all like run down, and then the wolves come, you're like, oh no, it's like, rah, wolves. Yeah. But they're like all curbified in this one.
Yeah.
And so they're like cute and fluffy wolves.
Like,
they still attack you.
You're not my friends. Yeah.
They still attack you, but they're like,
or sometimes they don't, they just sleep.
But like Kirby enemies, but then you just fight them.
Yeah, but it's this really
or sometimes they're just like having a milkshake, and they're like, "Hey, what's up?"
It's really,
and then you kill them all.
Yeah. It's really cute at the beginning, especially, and you got like this little Waddle Dee town, and it's like, oh, gotta save all the Waddle Dees because they make more of the town, and there's like little mini games and stuff around the town. It's like, oh, this is super cute. And then at some point near the end, this is slightly spoilery, there's just body horror shit that happens.
Yeah,
and I don't know, Persona 5.
Yeah. It definitely has. Like I said, I haven't played like a ton of Kirby games, but there is like Kirby has this he's the big pink fluffy ball, and he's it's got this very like fun image, right? And then but there's some like weird, and I think like even though it's probably sort of a shift in tone, I really enjoyed the just sort of like weird like seriousness thing where King Dedede, who's usually the guy who's like, I'm gonna steal all the pies.
Yeah.
Is like, I will sacrifice myself to save my kingdom.
Yeah.
Go before it's too late.
The post game content was really neat too, where it's one of those things where it's like, oh, you went through all these worlds, and now we have like kind of these big worlds that are a mixture of a bunch of different things, and I really liked what they did with the combination of stuff with that.
Let you replay familiar stuff, but it's been changed ever so slightly. But
so a lot of fun. Highly recommend checking out, especially if you're into platformer type games in particular. And one thing that I think it does really well, which I also liked about like Yoshi's
Woolly World or Crafting World?
Crafting World.
Yeah, Crafted.
Or Crafted World, yeah. Okay. But I think it does really well is that it's a pretty easy game to just get through the game. But there's a lot of extra stuff you can do to sort of make it harder for yourself. Like you can get a bunch of, you can get a bunch of bonus things and
go backwards through the levels.
Go back through the levels and do a bunch of things. Like it can be a very challenging game.
I think it overkills a little in the collectible department, though.
If you are the kind of person, or if you want to get all the collectibles and stuff, it can be quite challenging. But if you just want to sort of play through the game, it isn't that hard.
No.
Which I think it's a nice balance. Like it's sort of without actually having like a difficulty modes.
Yeah.
It allows you to sort of be like, how much time do I want to spend? It's like, kill this boss without taking any damage. And it's like, do I care that much about this thing? Do I want to do it?
Could I do it?
Yeah. You can, and you can decide like how much you want to challenge yourself.
100%ing Kirby in the Forgotten Land is very difficult, specifically because one of the things you need to do is to finish that Coliseum. And if you thought that end boss fight was hard, and if you thought the post-content story boss fight is hard, you're wrong. The hard fight is in the Coliseum, and it's just wrong.
Speaking of backtracking, Metroid Dread. I played this year and had a wonderful time. The thing that I would say,
Metroid Dread, well-known Metroidvania style game.
Exactly, yeah. The word I would give it is smooth. Like it just
smooth.
It is the smoothest Metroid I've ever played.
Smooth as Samus's suit.
Everything looks gorgeous.
You were like, both of you were like playing a bunch of the Metroid games. Was it just you, or both of you were playing?
Just me playing Metroid Dread. But
I was working on Super Metroid.
But you were playing a bunch of the Metroid games, like Super Metroid, and like Zero Mission, and a bunch of the other ones.
Yeah, I haven't gotten super far in that.
Yeah, there's a level of just polish and smoothness to the gameplay in Dread, where everything, because it's not. I only really got navigationally stuck once, where I was like, "What do I do? How do I kind of get through this area?" The Emmys are probably the most frustrating part of that game, because I died a lot, and you get to start again real fast. Like they knew, they're like, if you die, it happens real quick, and then you start again, and you try to make your play for this. And I'm like, that was the most frustrating part for me. The bosses weren't even as frustrating as the Emmys in a lot of cases, but so much of that, and I played that game for so much.
Emmys are often disappointing.
Yeah, and so much of that game was like, hey, you did a thing, it's been 25 minutes, and hey, here's a new thing. Hey, it's been another 40 minutes, here's another new thing for your suit. Hey, it's been another 25 minutes, here's another new thing for your suit.
Keep you, and then you're like, well, I don't want to stop playing now. I just got a new
ability.
thing.
Yeah.
Even the shine sparking, where it's like, do you want to get all the things in the game you want 100? Because I did 100% it, and I'm like, yes, let me get a guide. I will find out. I will watch people's videos on how you're supposed to shine spark your way through a thing, and be like, oh, I do it like this, and then I would practice over and over and eventually nail it. And it's a lot of work, like to do all the really there's some really complicated fucking maneuvers you have to do in this game, but just playing it straight, it's like it's frictionless. And that's what surprised me, is I haven't played a Metroid in a long time that feels
the ice levels.
Yeah, it just wants you to keep playing, and it keeps giving you reasons to keep playing. And I was like, man, that is a weird feeling for a Metroid game for me.
That's always my like limit on, like I like getting all the secrets and stuff. My limit on Metroid, though, it tends to be like, I'll see a thing, and then I'll like backtrack. It's like, okay, I need like shine spark to get that.
Yeah.
And then I'll backtrack and I'll be like, oh, I see there's a thing there, and there's a thing there, and there's a thing there, and I'm like, okay, I get how you would do this. I'm not going to do this.
I do that.
I have a certain. It's like I have a certain level of like, okay, I get it. I get what you're trying to tell me to do. Game. I'm not going to do that.
Yeah.
I don't. It's like I don't need that like 5 extra missiles or whatever. I'll be fine.
In games where I can see, like, to get an achievement is something like, oh, you have to play the game for 500 hours or whatever. because it's like, well, that's just an eventuality.
Right.
As far as I'm concerned, if I've played the game for 300 hours and I've done everything else in the game and it needs me to log in like another 200 hours to get that thing, as far as I'm concerned, I've already got that achievement and I don't need to play anymore.
There you go.
How about you, Paul? You got some...
Yeah, well, I mean, I think another game that might be on a couple of our lists, Tunic, which was,
can't wait to play this.
Nelson played it on...
Play it forward,
on Play It Forward. Super great game. Not, it's, a little bit, I went into it, basically totally, blind, which is, I think, the way the ideal way to go into it, is to not having, seen too much of it.
How's it going for you, Peach?
I'm trying my best.
But, a really beautifully made game. And, I went into it being like, oh, I love Legend of Zelda. I'm going to, this is like that. And it's not quite like that.
Kind of, but it's definitely not quite.
Yeah, it's a little more punishing than that, in terms of like combat and stuff. But the mechanic of the pages of the manual that you pick up, totally brilliant. And done in such a fun way.
I feel like
a couple of the puzzles I thought were like maybe a little excessive, a little like what I would call old, like not
LucasArts.
No, they're not excessive in the sense of like being not making sense.
Okay,
but more just like I can see theoretically how you would do this.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to do this.
Okay.
And certain things of like, finding patterns and stuff that are like what I would call almost like an old, which is, part of the sort of theme of the thing, but kind of an old school stuff where like it's expected that you're going to be spending like 10 hours working on this puzzle.
Yeah,
and it's like, I don't really want to do that.
Sure.
Tunic I really liked. I mean, and a big part of what I liked about it was you're a fox.
Yes.
And you're in little green tunic.
Yeah.
And it definitely is drawing on some of that like Zelda nostalgia.
Yeah.
I'm a sucker for that. But it was the game as a whole I found really interesting inside the conversation space of people playing it, because it definitely has this thing of you need to know that you need to be looking at what are collectibles, essentially, like the manual, right?
Right.
That's a big thing of you need to be looking at it and trying to discern what you can do and different things you can do from this manual, but there were people who I heard when they were first playing it, they didn't know that was a key concept. And so they would pick up pieces of a thing and they were just like, oh, it's just collectibles. And they just kept going.
Right.
And then they get incredibly lost and not know what to do. And I just think that's really interesting in terms of if you're an older gamer who used to constantly look at a manual and know you kind of like knew that,
or the game came with a manual, and so you, before you sat down and played it, or because your brother was playing it, you sat down and read the whole manual, so you knew how to do all these things.
Or you're the type of gamer who wants to always look at like the new thing that you picked up and like see stuff, and then you kind of grok that's kind of going to be a mechanic of the game. And I do think that's really interesting in terms of like how do people play different games, because there's also a lot of people who don't like the combat in the game, and I agree the controllers are maybe not the best for combat. I struggled with the combat, but I kind of really liked it in the same way. I didn't like the AI being as aggressive as it was.
Yeah, and the way that they handled like your auxiliary weapon was very not well set up, which was unfortunate.
Yeah. There's still a bunch of stuff I don't know, and there's a bunch of things I have to go find that are extras.
It reminded me a little bit of Fez, in the sense that like you can beat the game, but then there's like a bunch of secret stuff that it's like, oh, but if you go here and like check out this QR code and then decode the made-up language that we created. It turns out that there's like something else, and it's like, okay, that's super cool. I'm glad you put that in. I'm not going to be the one who's spending time doing that.
Yeah. I played Tunic on my home stream, and I felt like it was really funny for me because I just felt like there's a bunch of times where I'm just staring at the screen going, okay, and I'm like clicking buttons, but you can't see me doing it, and there's like no input to show that buttons are being clicked, and then suddenly a thing would just happen because I'd done the right thing, and I'm like, oh yes, this has to be super entertaining.
Also,
okay.
Also, very small spoiler, but a tip if you're going to play, and something that I really appreciate, and you probably you may know this if you've seen me play games on stream. Almost every single waterfall in the game has something behind it.
Thank Christ!
Yes, that is true. That is true.
There is no point to having a waterfall in your video game if there isn't something behind it.
Yep. Boy, what a lovely trope to exploit. Oh, that's so good.
I love that about it. Anyway.
Okay. Let me tell you about The Cruel King and the Great Hero. Do you like anime that involves a parental figure watching over a tiny little child who wants to go out exploring and become a great hero like their dad was, but their dad's no longer around and they're with this other parental figure who happens to be a dragon?
Okay.
I'm intrigued.
Okay.
I'm intrigued.
It's kind of like a fairy tale-esque thing. There's a dragon with a little girl who wants to become a great hero. Her dad was a great hero, defeated the great evil, is not around anymore, and they want to be a great hero too. So they have like a pot on their head and they have a stick, and they are going to go fight monsters.
And she's living with a dragon.
Yes, who is also just the great evil. It's very obvious. So this girl goes out with a stick, and it's very simple RPG style game of you go to fight and turn-based fight against two little monsters or whatever that you're doing. And at the very beginning of the game, as she goes out, she's fighting. The dragon's in the background the entire time because the dragon's making sure that they don't get hurt. And when you do your magic spells of like, I'm fire blasting thing, it's actually the dragon in the background doing the fire blast for you.
Right.
Because you want to do a magic spell.
Yeah.
It is so adorable. And I think you would really like it.
Oh, sure. Yeah. No, absolutely.
So it's basically like that scene from, the opening of like Ant-Man 2, like the Ant-Man and Wasp, where he like, because he's under like house arrest, he makes this like whole like fun adventure for his obstacle course for his kid to play in.
Yeah. And he slides down the stairs at the beginning and puts his leg through the fence. He's like, oh, you left the property. It's like, no, I just...
No, the game starts out that way, and as you go along, it's got that like Paper Mario-esque thing of like you get different companions that you can swap in and out. That are your friends that you're helping do problems with in chapters, and it's kind of a simplified RPG in the sense that you're only ever doing 2-on-2 fights, and there's different parts of the maps you can go look around in and whatnot. But I do think the conceit of the game would really be up your alley, Beach.
Wait, sorry, what was this one called again?
The Cruel King and the Great Hero. So the dragon's the king,
right?
Who
This is on Switch, I guess?
It's on Switch. I think it's on basically everything else, too. It's not.
Yeah, it's by the people who make The Liar Princess and The Blind Prince.
Yes, which I also played, I think maybe this year, and it was also very good. That one was more of a platformer.
Okay.
Also in that fairy tale style kind of thing.
What else did we play this year? Pikmin 3 has because we played that this year.
Yes.
Or in 2022. Pikmin 3 has essentially rehabilitated my take on Pikmin, and I think there's two reasons for that. One is, in 1080p, the game is gorgeous. Like, it's absolutely gorgeous. The water is realistic. The environments are incredibly realistic.
Very pretty, yeah.
It's so pretty. So playing Pikmin 2 and getting incredibly frustrated with Pikmin 2 was a pain in the ass. But part of the reason why I got frustrated with Pikmin 2, I think, is the other reason why Pikmin 3 saves this for me, is that Pikmin 3 Deluxe for the Switch, we're not talking the one for Wii U, the one for Switch has cooperative multiplayer.
From the beginning.
And that meant Heather and I could both sit down and play it together, which meant that we could split up the ability to do stuff. We could work together when we wanted to. We could trade, and the whole thing is a lot about trading Pikmin back and forth, because you actually change who it is. In order to get through parts of the game, you have to use multiple captains. And so you can throw your captain friend to another area, and then you can throw Pikmin after him, and then change to that captain, and then you can throw the other captain and change to her, and throw Pikmin to her, and then she can go on the rest of the game. And it's like, when you have two people playing this game, it's astounding. It's kind of that Lost Vikings feel of, you have to kind of like put people ahead of you so you can catch everybody else up.
If you're playing this game solo, you basically send commands to the other captains to move into different places, and you swap to them and
you can play it as a multiplayer thing.
Yeah, it's a split screen.
Oh, that's super neat.
Thing.
Side by side.
So,
is it online as well, or?
I think there is not online co-op. I think it has online versus.
Yeah.
Lost Vikings was a great game.
But if you liked the idea of Pikmin, but you bounced off it because you're like, man, this is tough because I have to manage all this stuff. If you have someone at your house who can sit down and play the game with you, and you both are into the idea of playing Pikmin, like, it's weird, right? It's like, if you have this, and there's all these caveats that I'm putting in here, but it's like, but there's something really special about playing it as a two-player game where you can talk to each other and pull up the map and do tactics and say, I want to do this, I want to do that. What do you want to do? I want to go do this. Okay, I'll walk in the water. Okay, I'll go get this orange. Like, it's like, that's so the collaborative nature of playing this tactics game, this RTS thing, is like, it's a lot more fun to do that than it is to just like, I'm here doing this thing and I'm trying to think my way through it. I'm like, no, collaborating made it so much more fun for me. So.
And Beach definitely prefers the more cooperative play style of co-op games.
Yeah.
And
it's not to say I don't get pissed off when it's like, no, don't. I was gonna
sure, but you prefer them over the versus
absolutely,
section of games,
yeah.
And having a local couch co-op game that we both agree on that we want to play is rare.
Yeah. Nice. Yeah. The people see a lot of people in chat talking about Outer Wilds, which I'm afraid I bounced off of.
I haven't tried that one yet.
It seems I've seen so many people talking about how it's like one of the best games they played and stuff, but I have such an aversion to games with a time limit. I really don't like feeling rushed in games.
Okay.
I found even Majora's Mask I got annoyed with.
Right.
That's fair.
And so that aspect, I was just like, I would love this so much more. It's like I am so interested in exploring this, and I hate that I have to keep restarting.
Right.
That's just I don't like feeling rushed in games, especially games that involve exploration. But anyway, what about other? Let me think. Other game, yeah. Oh yeah, for some reason, I guess partially because I have the Xbox Game Pass, so I sometimes playing games that I wouldn't necessarily normally buy.
Yeah.
But I'm afraid I have gotten a lot of time. I put a lot of time into Hard Space Shipbreaker, which it's super just breaking apart these big spaceships and doing all this stuff, and Pressure Wash Simulator. Which is the best game to play while listening to a podcast or whatever.
I bet.
As a relaxation thing. And those kind of games, which I don't think I ever would actually buy on Steam, just because I'd be like, really? Come on.
Yeah.
But then I play it, and I can't deny that I put however many hours into the game, right? And so I was like, apparently I do like playing this.
you like a certain form of meditation.
Yeah. So those I highly recommend, especially Hard Space Shipbreaker. It's got a little more of a actual story to it, although it's not a pretty light story, but it's more. I think it's a more substantial game than pressure wash simulator. Although that is also enjoyable. Although, and it's one of those games where they're like, we just, like when I got it, when it was on Game Pass, and it was like, here's the game, here's a bunch of levels, and then it's like, oh hey, here's like a bonus level that came up with. And then like they have put out a couple of updates where like, what bonus level do you want to have next? We're like having a vote on it, and it's like, we're gonna come up with stuff, we're working on them, new bonus levels, and you're sort of like, that's great, I want more levels. I don't want to sound ungrateful, but why is it taking you so, like, the levels it's like a house that is not like a particularly complicated house. Like, right. It's just an outside of a house, and it's really dirty.
Yeah. Like,
there's like a texture on it. Mm-hmm. It doesn't seem like it should take that long to model and develop.
Right.
In comparison to, like, say, making whole levels of other games.
Right.
But, maybe, I don't know. What they should do is they should make the opposite. They should make a level creation thing where you can make a level, and then instead of a pressure washer, you have like a dirt sprayer.
Yes.
And you just spray dirt everywhere, and then you can save that out and send it to other people to clean.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's just like a continuous, one person dirties it, the other person cleans it.
That's Splatoon. That's Splatoon, Paul.
Some levels are really pretty. Splatoon. Some levels are pretty involved. I will give you that. But I feel like it shouldn't be as hard as it is.
Right.
But maybe that's just I don't know.
Paul's just
I just want more levels is what I want. I just want more levels.
And they keep telling him more are coming, and he's just frothing for them.
I just want Nintendo to make a DLC for Splatoon 3 that is literally just Pressure Wash Simulator, but for levels after they have been fought in.
I mean, they might do that.
That seems like not a bad idea.
Something they might do one day.
Holy shit! I mean, they're never going to make the rhythm game, so
don't tell me that.
Don't tell me that. 3 opportunities they have not. Anyway,
why don't you tell me about River City Girls?
That was really good. It was a co-op game that Heather and I did not play co-op. She played it in her room. I played it in my room. We both played.
You played simultaneous single player.
So it was the Nintendo online whatever thing does a free game trial every now and then of a specific game where you can download the whole game, and you got like a week to play as much of it as you want. And then you either have to purchase it or stop playing. And River City Girls was the game. And so I downloaded it, and Beej downloaded it, and we both played it independently. We probably could have played that one co-op.
And I realized in playing it that I was like, when I played it at PAX, it was a poor experience to play it at PAX because it did not really capture the overall thing of the game. It does, if you liked River City Ransom, it really kind of it tweaks a lot of those same things. It's not. It's fun in a lot of different ways. There's some other things that I'm like, boy, I would change a couple things about it. But overall,
the conceit is like these are the people, like the sort of girlfriends who were kidnapped in River City Ransom, and it's like, no, they're actually kicking ass.
Actually, turns out that they weren't the girls who were kidnapped in River City Ransom. I don't think they were kidnapped. I think in a different game. Kunio and Riki actually don't have girlfriends for most of their games, but then there was one where they did. Specifically, there's actually River City Girls 0, which is originally a Super Nintendo game where Kunio and Riki have these 2 girls as their girlfriends, and I believe you could play as them as well in this game, and they localized it. I'm trying to get this all right. Kunio-kun lore is just an absolute clusterfuck, but it's a lot of fun. And yeah, this is the game where it's like, now you get to play as them, but the weird thing is that there are girls in the game, when you talk to them, those girls are convinced that they are dating Kunio and Riki, not you. And they're like, you have this weird kind of like idea that you think you're dating these guys. And it complicates the game because you're like, wait, are we out of our minds? Are we actually dating these guys or not? And there's a whole bunch of like, Way Forward did a whole bunch of love letter stuff to the Kunio-kun series because you're at the high school and it's River City High School, but when you get to the main like lobby area, there's a big lion head in the floor, and it says Neketsu High School, which is the name of the high school in the Japanese version. And I'm just like, and there's Japanese everywhere, but there's also English everywhere, and I'm kind of like, it's such a confusing game from the aesthetic standpoint, but it's because of the fact that the English translation and the original Japanese games I think have been influencing each other so much over time. So it's weird, but it's a lot of fun, and you have to like an RPG brawler. Like, that's such a weird thing. You have to like a brawler where you have XP and you have money to buy new moves, but it's a brawler, and it's like, and like, it's good. It's a good game. It was better than I thought, and I'm glad we could beat it in one go before the trial ended. But there's a sequel.
So it's not that long a game, I guess.
It's not, well,
it's about like a 10 to 15 hour game.
Yeah, you max out at level 30, like...
Yeah, and when you finish the game the first time, you can essentially do a new game plus, or you can continue. It asks you if you want to continue hanging around in the thing, or if you want to move on to new game plus, which is one of
good
those,
because
like,
there's a secret ending.
Yeah, there's after you defeat the game, you got to do another thing.
But did you
to
do
get
the
two things to
real secret ending?
Yeah,
Super secret ending.
We both did. She told me, she's like, you have to go do the secret ending. It's more satisfying.
Because I found out that it existed, because I was just like, I didn't think I'd like this game, but now I do, and I have to know everything. And so I started doing stuff, and then I did the secret ending, just very similar to the first ending, but I think better in a lot of ways. And so I like finished it. I came out, I'm like, have you done the secret ending? No, I was thinking about it. You should do the secret ending. Like right now.
Yeah.
I'm going to sit here and watch while you
No, you're doing it now.
Also, did you ever play Double Dragon?
A little bit.
Okay, but you played from the beginning. You know when the guy walks up and punches the girl in the stomach, and then he carries her away, and then the Billy and Jimmy come out and they have to beat the crap out of everybody?
Sure, yeah.
Okay, so that's how the game starts. So that girl is in this game.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, she's older now, obviously, right? And she's awesome, but also she's in River City Girls 2 as a playable character. And she is like muscle mommy. Like because she got punched in the stomach so much that she's like, I've had enough of this bullshit. And she went to work, like working out, and she's got like abs for days, and she kicks the shit out of everybody. The trailer for River City Girls 2 that has her in it even uses the original Double Dragon theme over top. It's like, we want you to know that we know this, because the whole reason is the Kunio-kun series was also made by the guys who made Double Dragon, and there is some overlap with some of the characters. So it's like, oh my God!
I had a lot of fun reading through the wiki for the first game and finding out all of the things about how all these other characters are from other specific games or are references for things.
Yeah.
I'm just worried about the idea that that apparently that wasn't just like one incident, that like every time somebody played the video game individually, she got punched in the stomach. That is terrible.
It is.
The worst part is in Double Dragon 2, she gets shot and they carry her away, or they leave her to die or whatever. Like, and it's like, oh my God. So
I feel like, that's not a good, if you want her as like a hostage, probably shooting her is not the best idea.
Yeah.
Another game that I played that I really enjoyed, Deathloop.
Oh yeah, I've heard of this. Yeah,
which
for someone who doesn't like the time limit.
Well, no, this is the thing. Deathloop does it really well because Deathloop there's no time limit, but you can do like when you're in a level. There's no time limit.
It does that like you do a thing and then like time passes.
Yeah,
right?
it's like you can go to 4 places in the course of a day.
Okay.
One in the morning, noon, afternoon, night.
Okay.
You can go to 4 places during the day, but when you're in a place, there's no time limit. You just do what. So and so there's I don't know how many different locations. And each location is different at different times of the day. So you have to sort of decide how to manage your day. But there isn't an actual like time element to it, which and sort of figuring out the how everything works and stuff in that was quite fun. Deathloop, I highly enjoyed that one, and of course also gets around the like the first person shooter killing everybody thing, because it doesn't matter. Like, there's this weird idea where it's like you're in this world, and it's this sort of time loop thing, and everybody else also like knows that there's a time loop going on. So everyone is just like totally nutso,
right?
Because they're just like, it doesn't matter,
right?
Life is weird because we're all just gonna come back tomorrow.
The whole point of what your character's trying to do in Deathloop is to escape the loop, right?
Yes.
And people know that.
And people are because
they know that the timing
you're trying to break the loop, but if you break the loop, it breaks for everybody.
Yeah.
And so all the people who are like, but we like the loop, are trying to kill you.
Yeah. So like Groundhog Day, but everybody's aware and really doesn't want you to fix it.
Yeah.
Wow. Holy crap.
Yeah. But yeah, there's all sorts of, and of course there's, various things that happen over the course of the thing that you get sort of revelations about, because of course it's a time loop. And so there's all sorts of weirdness going on in terms of like, because obviously you as the player and you as your character remember what's happening from one loop to the next.
Right, which nobody else in the game does.
Mostly.
Okay.
But like, there's somebody, it's like most of the people don't know that it's been a loop. So, and so they're all like, it's day one of the time loop. Woo! Nobody realizes that it's actually not. Yeah, it's not day one of the time loop.
Alrighty.
Anyway, so it's kind of a cool. So it's a super neat idea, and it's well implemented. As with, I'm not a big online player thing. It's got a sort of a Dark Souls thing where people can kind of invade your game.
Because they come to try to stop you or something.
So the central thing is that there's another person who knows the loop and is trying to stop you.
Right.
And she will just randomly show up and try to kill you.
Ah.
And you can play on multiplayer where you are that person for somebody else.
Neat. Okay.
Or you can do what I did, which is turn that off.
Ah, yeah.
Because I don't want to. So when I was fighting, when she shows up, she's just AI, and
right.
You can fight her and stuff. But I didn't want to have to deal with other people actually being around in my game.
Yeah, I've heard that from a number of people who played the game. Not that that's not like a fun way to play, just that they prefer not to do that.
As I would in like Dark Souls or whatever, even though I haven't played that, I would go into a mode, the whatever offline mode, or the whatever hollow mode, I think it's called. Yeah. Anyway. Yeah. Is there? We probably should go offline. Wrap it up pretty quick here. Was there anything else you wanted to talk about?
You have a whole list, I know.
I mean, yeah, I do.
That's fine,
have either of you played A Short Hike yet?
No,
I did. Not this year, but I played it.
Okay.
I played it previous year. I think it showed up on like the Epic
it's in
giveaway or
several
something.
Bundles of
of
proportions. Chances are good.
Super.
You have a copy.
Super fun, adorable little game.
It's what I really like about it is you could just ignore everything, kind of, if you want, and kind of just do the main idea of getting to the top of the mountain. Or you can do what maybe like you're used to doing in, say, an older RPG game, which is talk to everybody and then find out there's a million things you could go do.
It's probably the best, the most descriptive name. Like, it is a very accurate name.
Right.
The game is literally A Short Hike.
Yeah, it's
like there's nothing. It's like there's no particular big like revelations or like thing you're fighting against, or like
the journey is the experience,
horrible monster or world changing thing. It's just like going on a hike.
Just going on a hike.
It's cool.
Somebody said they wanted seashells, so I'm picking up the seashells as I find them, and I'm hopefully going to remember where the heck they are so I can give them to them, that kind of thing. And then as you climb up further in the mountain, the gliding off, because you're a little bird, the gliding off around the mountain, which you can just kind of potentially glide for a really long, like you have to, I think you end up getting stuff to up like a stamina bar or something, so you can do like higher jumps or more gliding or something like that.
And climbing
and
stuff,
like in Breath of the Wild, where you like fully up your stamina bar and then you can climb for days.
Oh yeah.
It's that feeling when you're gliding. It's
Nice.
just like, oh, I'm everywhere. And then one of my favorite parts of the game is I found an island where his girl's just like, I want to go on the boat, Dad. And Dad's like, no. Wait, this stranger here could take me on the boat. You want to take me on the boat? And I'm like, yeah, okay. The game's not going to let me do that, right? And he's like, we're taking you on the boat. I'm
okay.
Like, okay. And she's like, I made a ramp. Let's go on the ramp. We're not supposed to go on the ramp. And I'm like, okay, let's go on the ramp. And we break the boat. It's really fun. It really is a lot of fun. Super cute game.
I can't wait.
It is an interesting style of game in that, right? It's like that thing where, there isn't, like I said, there isn't, any particular, like, you're doing stuff, but there's no particular, like, reason why you're doing stuff. It's just like people ask
like
you to
when
do
you're
things.
A kid and you're told, hey, go outside.
Go find something to do, yeah.
It's essentially that.
It's not like, oh, if I collect all these seashells, then I'm going to get, plus 10 to my fight moves or whatever. It's just like,
yeah. I mean, I want to say,
enjoyable.
based on my list of Death's Door where you're a crow, Tunic where you're a fox, Kirby where you're definitely not human,
right? I mean, we've talked about this.
Short Hike where you're a bird. I'm just like, maybe I don't want to be human.
We've talked about this before. That non-human player character is one of the things you can do to attract Heather to a video game.
Maybe I will just sit down with your Switch and give it a play.
I think you'd really like a Short Hike.
Yeah.
It also only took me like, I think, 6 hours. I know sometimes it's just nice having like the short game.
Yeah.
Something you can kind of finish in a couple afternoons. I have not tried Little Gator Game yet, but that is on my radar. It looks great. It's a similar idea, only you're a gator and you kind of wandering around like a Zelda-like thing, from what I understand. Hollow Knight, where you're definitely a bug, yeah.
It's true.
Like I just don't. I do this all day already. Not on camera, clearly, except for just then. But I want wings. I want to go gliding.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
I want a mouthful of car and drive around. Not in reality. My mouth doesn't stretch like that.
I want a mouthful of car.
It's true. Even when she's not on camera, Heather is always doing this.
Yeah, it's kind of what I do at YouTube. It's not really effective. I think I need to go back to the tarot cards. I took the knife away.
Oh, yeah, Ori. I didn't play that this year, but those are great games.
That's probably something good to get hit this year.
Yeah, both of them are excellent.
They're in my backlog.
All right, well let's call it there. And maybe in on ChillPoint or something we might learn about Graham or Kathleen's 2022 stuff. But in any case, thanks everybody for joining us for this episode of ChillPoint. And I hope you had fun talking about some video game stuff, and we will talk to all y'all later.
Bye.
Bye.